Here's one of the reasons it's really good to scout if you can. We came out to take a look at locations to do a sunrise shoot. Again, I'm using the photographer's ephemera, the free software that lets you see where the sun is going to be. According to this, at about 5:25, the sun is going to rise directly behind me, and at the same time, the moon will be setting directly on the opposite side of this valley. So there's a big rock ridge line right behind the camera. We're going to climb up probably tomorrow, either on one of those or behind one of those, and try and get the sunrise on one side and then turn around and get the moon on the other side. So we'll see if this works. You know, all the planning in the world doesn't really matter. It would be really kind of cool just to camp out here for a couple of days and watch the sunrise and watch the sunset and try and figure out where you wanted to be over a course of a few days. But not everybody has that amount of time, but at least by coming out the night before our shoot, we can get an idea of where we're going to want to set up and what we're going to do, so that when the sun comes up, we don't have to rush and get a tripod and move the angles and try and catch it over here. So the sun is going to crest right here over this rock structure. The yellow light that we see over to the left is the effect of the sun warming up the horizon. So we're going to get the sun pretty soon bursting up over here. If I start to shoot at this right now, what I'm going to get is an underexposed foreground and an overexposed background until the sun is actually popping up and I get some sunrise shots. As I'm going to look around at the light, I'm also going to try and find something that I can do to bring out the color and also show a little bit of the floor of the desert. So I'm going to bend down. There's some nice brush here, I'm not sure what this is, and I'm going to take some pictures with the flash on like I did with the pictures of the cactus, and that's going to give me the color of the sun as the background with a nice pop of light in the foreground. So now I have a nice look from this plant, and if I didn't have the flash on, it would look like this. I'm going to move over to cactuses and I'm going to try that again. These are some pretty good looking cacti. That's pretty nice. Now I'm going to dial down the flash a little bit because I don't want the flash as strong. Meanwhile, behind us, what we'll shoot is this beautiful mountain range. We'll shoot that next. The moon will be coming down. It'll be full. As the sun comes up, I actually think that the peak behind us is going to be the prettier thing. I think we're going to get a couple seconds of sunrise over here. We're going to spin around to the other side of the road and start taking a look at these beautiful cliffs over here. So over here we have the sunrise right behind us right now, or right behind you. It's right in front of me. Sun's coming up over the hills. I've got the long lens to shoot it as it crests over the hills. I'm hoping that what happens is the sun pops up, all of this lights up over here. I like what the cloud's doing here. I don't know if by the time the sun comes up to really illuminate them, if they'll still be in the right position, but I think this is a nice place to start off. The moon is coming up nicely. Gonna switch to the longer lens, try to frame this over here. I like what's happening. Oh, who needs the sun today? We got the moon. Okay, this is what happens when you come up with contingency plans. I'm really liking what's going on here. So now I've got just enough mountain and the moon is just low enough that I can get it into the right position with the telephoto lens. And then as it gets lower, I can pan back out a little bit, but this is in a nice position right now. Yeah, this is nice and it looks really good. Nice and colorful. I like this a lot. So we have two cameras, we have two people, so we're going to take advantage of that. Byron's going to shoot with the wide angle lens. I'm going to shoot with the telephoto lens. Things are starting to look really nice for me over here. I've got the moon coming down right where I wanted it. I have the mountain range really lit up nicely. I'm shooting right now between 60 and 200, which is converted about 100 to 350 on full frame. And then I can pan back and get the whole range back out here at the 18. So I can get it so I have a nice bit of the ground here all lit up. One of the things, the more of the mountain range that I get, the less the moon will appear to be big, even though to my eye it looks big. It's coming down, it's pretty nice right now, but I still need to shoot pretty long or else the moon will be big, but it won't really be a big enough part of the subject. You want to check your exposure as you're doing this to make sure that you've got an exposure that both lights up the mountain and lights up the moon.
I have it pointy.
Yeah.
That right there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch that.
Oh, the pointy thing? Don't touch the yeah. I thought that was
the hard way.
I thought that was my tip from yesterday. And don't forget that everything in the desert is either rocky or pointy.
And stabby.
And stabby.
Right.
So don't, when you bend down near a Joshua tree, don't stick your head into the So I think at a certain point we're going to lose the shot, even though the moon's coming down right where I want it. But I'm mostly going to just keep shooting until the scene isn't doing it for me anymore, and then I'm going to go get some scrambled eggs maybe and some toast, because it is very early in the morning. We've been up for a while for this shoot. All right, so the sun came up, and now this is the desert that I wanted a picture of. We lost the redness that we had before, but now everything is just popping and green and verdant. The one thing that will not look as great now as it did before is the moon on the rocks, because now the rocks, like we thought, don't have any of that red cast to them, but it is just so pretty out here. Because we have all this subject material, all this beautiful stuff in the desert, it's nice to get some of this in the shot. You got to play with your aperture to figure out exactly what you want in focus. I like to get a nice quad workout by trying to get different angles. And we're gonna keep moving around here, try to get some other advantages. I've got about 3 or 4 minutes left until that moon is where I want it. As the sun comes up though, there's not as much contrast in the sky, so the moon is starting to look a little washed out. So our moon shot may have peaked already. Now what's going on here is that the sun is doing what we did before with the flash. And remember I said I was going to not step on anything. Ow! But instead I have something in my finger. Ow! You have to be careful in the desert where you kneel when you're taking a picture of a cactus, because there's cactuses nearby. Ow! I'm full of spikes. Well, I'm going to deal with that in a little bit. That's very pretty. All right, so this is the last couple of minutes of getting the shot of the moon. This is as close as I can get it. So at the full telephoto range, only the top of that earth mound, those rocks there, are visible. I want it a little bit lower. I want the clouds to stay where they are. Well, actually I'd like the clouds not to be there, but that's not up to me. I can feel the sun on my back. I can feel everything just sort of popping right now. And I see a different shot I want to make. So I'm going to walk this way. So I just caught out of my eye this cactus over here. So I'm going to let this cactus poke me for a while, with the cacti in the foreground and the clouds in the background. And I'm not even going to take the time to review this. I want to make sure I got it, but I also want to make sure I get the moon as the long shot before it dips behind that cloud. So I'm done with that cactus. 400 millimeters, just 600 millimeter equivalent. Back it off a little. Now I'm at about 250, so a little bit over 300 millimeters. Totally gonna lose the moon in a second. And now it's really bright, so we also have to watch our exposure. I don't actually think I've ever seen a full moon set behind clouds before. Last couple shots here, the moon dipping behind the cloud. This is, just from a, boy, isn't this a pretty planet. This is a nice thing to see. I don't see a lot of full moon setting behind clouds like this. So this noise that you're hearing right now is not the focusing. This slight mechanical whine is the vibration compensation system inside the lens doing its job. There's a series of gyroscopes inside here. When I push the button, there's little magic elves that live inside the lens, and they turn the gyroscopes. And what you're hearing is those little magic elves running around pushing the gyroscopes so that the lens stays stable. Now, if this didn't have vibration compensation, there's no way I could shoot that moon at 600 millimeters. I'd have to be on a tripod. I would not be able to do this handheld. Vibration compensation is giving me a couple extra stops of hand holding, so I'm shooting at about 1/1000th of a second at this point, and at 600 millimeters equivalent, and I can hand hold this and get the shots as this moon ducks behind the clouds. I'm going to stop taking pictures at this point. I'm going to just look at it, because I don't see the moon setting all that often, and I know that's not going to be a great shot. But I'm just going to stop for a second and watch this happen. This way. This way.